What's up fellow hunters, Nox here, welcome to another exciting build video. Today we're gonna talk about bow. We have two maximum damage builds with Berserk and infinite stamina, as well as one build with the old school stamina management playstyle and no Berserk. Let's go. Before we get into the builds, we have to take a quick look at the 5 best elemental bows for spread, pierce and normal shot. Starting off with spread, we have the Rathian bow for fire, Daimyo for water, Velkhana for ice, Kezu for thunder, and Velstrax for dragon. Alternatively, you can also use the gold Rathian bow for dragon. Moving on to pierce, we have Ragna Kadaki for fire, Royal Ludroth for water, Kushala for ice, Zinogre for thunder, and Primordial Malzeno for dragon. And then we have rapid or normal shot, with Silver Rathalos for fire, Mizutsune for water, Heaven's Breath for ice, Tobi Kadachi for thunder, and Chaotic Gore for dragon. With that out of the way, let's jump into the builds. We're gonna start with the easier one of the two Berserk builds, Doom Draw version 1. For this one, I'm using a Critical Eye level 3 talisman with 3 level 2 slots. 2 level 2 slots would already be enough though, and you can easily get that with the Cycloss Smelding now. The build can of course be used with any of the 16 bows we saw a moment ago. I'm just using the Velkhana bow as example here. To increase our damage, the first thing we need to address is the shot type skill. This will be either spread, pierce or normal shot up, depending on which type you want to specialize in. The skill will increase damage of that shot type by a massive 20%. Following that, we of course have Bow Charge Plus. This will unlock the final charge level on the bow, which is locked on almost every elemental one. You can see that level 4 is missing on the left, but once we add Bow Charge Plus, it gets unlocked. Next, we have a max affinity setup. Critical Eye, Strife, Weakness Exploit, and Bloodlust will give us 100% affinity on weak spots. Along with that, we of course have Critical Boost to get the most out of our critical hits. Then we have a big stack of elemental skills. Starting off, we of course have level 5 of whatever element we choose. Element Exploit for a 10% increase to elemental damage when attacking weak spots. Then we have kind of a hidden gem, Charge Master. This will increase the elemental damage of charged attacks by 25%. The skill has massive value on bow. Critical Element for another 10% increase to elemental damage on critical hits. Burst will increase raw and element damage further as well when landing continuous hits. Kushala Blessing will add an additional 10% to water and ice at level 2. Depending on the weapon and space in the build, you can also add Teostra Blessing for a 10% increase when using fire. Next, we have the star of the show and one of the best synergies in the entire game, Berserk, Strife, and Mail of Hellfire. Let's start with Berserk. On the blue scroll, all health is turned red and will start draining. But as long as we stay on blue, monster attacks will not damage us. Instead, getting hit will increase the speed of the health drain. Swapping back to red will stop the health drain and convert half of the red health back to green. The great thing about Berserk is that it activates the maximum effect of Strife, which we have at level 3. This means we get a 20% increase to element, which is massive. And we also get infinite stamina, which is of course incredible for bow. This will allow us to attack and dodge non-stop. And then we have Mail of Hellfire as the third part of the synergy. At level 3, this will give us another 20% increase to element on the blue scroll. The skill does come with a big negative effect to element resistance, but since we're using Berserk and can't take any damage, this has no effect on us at all. Even if you had a negative 100 element resistance, it wouldn't matter. So the risk that comes with Berserk is definitely worth it. Cool thing is, the build comes with a perfect counter system to Berserk. Kushala Blessing level 3 combined with Recovery Up. This will give us a very good amount of natural health regeneration. You can see right here that you have nothing to worry about with Berserk when using the right setup. The aggressive health drain that comes with the skill is barely even scratching my health bar. And we can boost the health regeneration effects even further by using an Immunizer or Gourmet Fish. If you can't fit Kushala Blessing level 3 into the build, you can eat for the Super Recovery level 4 Dango skill as alternative. Or you can even stack them if you want to go completely overboard with health regeneration. It might take a bit to get used to it, but trust me, it's 100% worth it to give this a shot. Here's a quick recap of the synergy effects. We get infinite stamina, which is incredible for bow. We don't take any damage from attacks on the blue scroll, but instead have a health drain that is very well managed. And we get an absolutely massive 40% boost to element attack. Next, we have Resentment and Coalescence level 2. Both will activate automatically on this build and increase damage even further. Blade Scale Hone level 1 is a great bonus skill to have on bow. It will give us a 50% chance to increase the power of close range coatings by 10% after dodging an attack. That effect will last for 30 seconds, which is a nice extra damage source. If you have any additional slots, you can also add reload speed level 2 into the build. This will apply all bow coatings automatically, allowing us to quickly switch between coatings even while attacking. And since close range coatings are unlimited, this synergizes very well with blade scale hone. For example, you can then quickly switch from power to close range coatings when blade scale hone activates, which in turn will make your power coatings last longer. Aside from all that, we also have Intrepid Heart as a nice safety bonus. Now let's take a look at the augments. Right underneath where it says augmentation status, you can see which augmenting method I used. The helmet has 1 level of strife. The chest and arms are very simple and only have slot upgrades. The waist and legs both have 1 level of Mail of Hellfire. I got lucky and have some additional bonuses on these 2 parts, but they aren't actually necessary to get the essential skills. Next is Doom Draw version 2. This Berserk build is more difficult to make, but also a bit more powerful. It is the final form bow build. To get all the essentials, we need a Berserk level 2 talisman with 1 level 2 slot. Anything more than that is gonna be used for bonuses. You can also ignore the good luck skill on my talisman. It has no value to the build at all. Even though we are using a lot of different parts, the main skills are nearly the same. Just like the previous build, we have a max affinity setup combined with critical boost. In case you don't like having bloodlust on a Berserk build, it can be removed on this version. All of the base elemental skills are intact as well. We have element attack, element exploit, charge master, critical element, and burst. And of course, we're making use of the amazing synergy between Berserk, Strife, and Mail of Hellfire again. To be completely honest, this combination is pretty overpowered once you get used to it. Now we get to the big difference between the 2 versions. This one comes with Blood Awakening. Blood Awakening will increase raw attack and element when regenerating a certain amount of HP with attacks. The skill is not as good for ranged weapons as it is for melee, but it's still a nice bonus, especially on a build that can benefit from health regeneration anyway. At level 3, we get 10 attack and 8 element when recovering 50 HP, and after recovering 150 HP, that buff gets increased to 25 attack and 15 element. This will last for 30 seconds after activating the first stage of the buff. You can even activate this when your health is completely full. As long as you deal enough damage to recover the required amount of HP, the skill will activate. We have 2 ways of regenerating HP with attacks. The first one is making use of the Blood Rite skill. This will give us health regeneration anytime we attack a broken monster part. And the second one is of course by having Blood Blight. We get affected by this when fighting afflicted monsters. Having Blood Blight will add a health regeneration effect to every one of your attacks. Since we already have the Recovery Up skill, this will also make the activation of Blood Awakening faster. Aside from that, we again have Blade Scale Hone for extra damage and Intrepid Heart for safety. As I mentioned, this build is a bit more difficult to make. For the augments, we need 3 levels of Mail of Hellfire and 2 levels of Strife. You also need at least one of these level 1 slot upgrades. This cost me around 350 Royal Amber Essence. Considering that we can get around 40 of those per quest now, that really isn't that bad. As I mentioned earlier, you can get rid of Bloodlust with augmenting if you want to. Just keep in mind that you'll have to add 1 more level of Critical Eye into the build to get the affinity as high as possible. Next we have the Hunter's Mark, a super easy to make all-round build with old school stamina management and no Berserk. I'm using the same Critical Eye talisman from the first build, but for the essentials it only needs to have 2 level 2 slots. Just like the other builds, you can use this with any of the bows we saw at the start. We again have a max affinity setup combined with critical boost. All of the base elemental skills are intact as well, but since we aren't using the Berserk Synergy, we are missing the big elemental increases from Strife and Mail of Hellfire. Next, we have to address the stamina management because we of course don't have infinite stamina here. The first thing is Stamina Surge level 3. This will increase the stamina recovery speed by a huge 40%. Following that, we have Constitution level 3, reducing any fixed stamina cost by 30%. We're not going for Constitution level 5 because we can get that effect really easy with other means. There are 2 options. We can either eat for the Dango Fighter skill or use a dash juice. Both will give us another 20% reduction to the fixed stamina cost. That will give us the maximum amount of stamina cost reduction, also known as Constitution level 5. Adding Marathon Runner into the build as well is really not necessary, but feel free to do that if you like. A pro tip is making smart use of Silkbind moves, because during the activation you're gonna be regenerating stamina, and most of them can also be used for repositioning or avoiding attacks. Definitely keep that in mind. Because we don't have Berserk, we also need some safety measures, starting with Guts. It has the same effect as the Dango skill Moxie and can save you from a fatal attack once. Even if you do faint, the skill is reset when you get brought back to camp. That means it can save you from a fatal attack again after jumping back into the fight. Combined with Intrepid Heart level 2, we have a really great safety net. The build also comes with Heaven Sent level 1. This reduces any damage we take as well when the skill is active. On top of that, we have Evade Extender to make dodging and repositioning easier. But that skill is optional and can be replaced with anything else you might prefer. For example, you could also use Evade Window or Embolden. As a bonus, the build also comes with Powder Mantle for extra damage. Coalescence can be added into the build as well if you have any additional slots. These are my current augments. As you can see, they are nothing special. The only thing I recommend aiming for is one level of Bloodlust on the chest or arms. The critical element could have been any other level 2 skill from the decoration list as well. Aside from that, everything else is just slot upgrades. Super simple. Here's a quick look at recommended switch skills. Number 1 is going to be Charging Sidestep or Dodgeball for all builds. And this will come down to your personal playstyle and preference. Because build 1 and 2 have infinite stamina, the second one is going to be Absolute Power Shot. Skill 3 and 4 can be whatever you like. Skill 5 is going to be Bolt Boost on red and Herculean Draw on blue. For build number 3, there's only one real difference. Since that one doesn't have infinite stamina, I recommend using the regular Power Shot. Make sure to check out the other builds for all kinds of weapons on the channel so you don't miss anything you might enjoy. As always, thanks for watching, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.